G'day, Bomber fans. Player ratings. We're back. We got to give some players some ratings. We obviously limped over the line against the Roos on Thursday night by 3 points. The injuries were the main talking point, so I guess it's going to be interesting to see how each individual did from the game. This one, I say this every week, I'm going to try and make this one a shorter video today, but there's a reason now for this one, because I'm off to see Sinners in a few hours, which I am so hyped for. I know a few of you guys are down in the comments are movie fans, so if you've seen it, let me know what you think. I am bloody keen for that one, but let's get into it, starting with Andy McGrath. So less important role from Pidge this week. He would have been under the spotlight a bit more if Paul Curtis was playing. That is the guy he would have been trying to keep down, but because he wasn't, because he was suspended, McGrath was kind of just acting as that number in the back six who could defend generally, and that is usually when he draws the most criticism, I think. I reckon he's someone who thrives with a role usually. He's such an impressive lockdown defender. So when he doesn't have a real threat, anyone to really lock down on, that is when we kind of, he gets his hands on the pill a bit more, and which frustrates a few of you guys. But yeah, I mean, he was kind of just good. I actually had to come to his defense in the comments because I saw someone talking about him turning the footy over again all the time. He actually only had one turnover on Thursday night. And now some kicks were a bit iffy, I will say that. The one turnover, it's a bit misleading because he put his teammates under the pump a bit at times. But I mean, so did everyone else, including our captain. No one is ever perfect. Yeah, I thought McGrath was good. He rebounded well. He was never really at fault for any goals, I don't think. He was kind of just your typical 7 out of 10. Hasn't really had a bad game since round 2 or 3 or 4, really. I can't remember the last time the comments were properly on his back with reason. Our vice-captain is going along nicely. He continues a good run of form. He's probably been one of our better players this year. Kyle Langford. I thought he was possibly in for a big night against that North defence. He was, for a lot of the night, in a very favourable matchup, but sometimes even on Luke McDonald. And I mean, prime Langford probably would have kicked 5 on him, but the last few weeks he's just looked like a guy returning from injury. And this week, it isn't heaps of an issue considering we got the win and others stepped up. But yeah, I mean, if he's putting his hand up to play, he probably needs to be doing a bit more than he currently is. He kicked that nice goal early, but after that I can't really remember any other moments he had around the arc. I know part of his role is to push higher up the field and almost, be a 7th defender at times when we need him. He actually got more of the footy in the defensive half than he did in the forward half, and that's why he gets a pass, because I actually thought he had some important moments around the ground, which probably helped us keep shape as a team. But I can't really go much higher than a 5. We've got high standards for him. He is one of our best players on our list, and unfortunately he just really isn't hitting his straps coming back from injury yet. I have no doubts that he will, but so far he's just not quite 100% yet. Yes, he gets a 5. Elijah Tsatas. This is interesting. So I was on Bomber Banter with Fiona. She specifically asked me about him after the game on her live stream, and make sure you check them out, by the way, the Bomber Banter channel. It's going well. She had Rowan Connolly on there, which is a pretty crazy guest. But when we chatted, I was asked about Tsatas and what I thought of his game, and it was really hard to find proper positives out of it, to be honest. Even some of the positives that I had, it's foot skills, but they're kicks that were, AFL players probably should bite off, and I think it's good that he is improving his foot skills. I thought, they were better than usual, but yeah, he did just look a little bit out of place, and I wonder, because, it was a great opportunity for him to really cement his spot in the team with, coming back into the side with Shield rested, and Caldwell's probably coming back next week, but it is hard to fit them all in. Tsatas doesn't really impact the game outside of the contest, and he only played the 60% centre bounce attendances. You could argue it could have been less because there were others doing more than him in there. Maybe Setterfield is a player that is hard to fit in the team with Tsatas, and it's really hard to warrant resting Setterfield over Tsatas at the moment. It is hard to, he's a player that we do need to persist with, but it's getting harder and harder to keep persisting with him when he is not really playing great footy. I don't even think he's playing that badly. I'm going to give him a 5. We can't be too harsh on a bloke who's yet to tick over 5 games as a proper inside mid. Draft positions are relevant to me when a player's this early into their development. I don't care if he was pick 5. But yeah, I mean, look at Pidge, right? Fantastic player, but half the fan base still hates him because he was pick 1. And I think that's going to start happening with Tsatas the more and more he's on this list, unfortunately. But yeah, it is tough to games like this make it tough to justify playing him over other players. Caldwell's coming back. Shields going to come back. Parrish eventually. I mean, Tsatas is probably going to be in the VFL if he plays more games like this. I don't even think he was that bad. I don't think he was a liability at all. But I probably think he was the weakest link in our midfield, unfortunately. The good news is the midfield battle was really only dominated by their ruckman, so he wasn't an issue at all. But yeah, I'm just worried about, him and his spot in the team when other players are coming back, because I don't think he really, warrants that spot the way he's playing at the moment. We'll see. Our captain, Zach Merrett. I'm tossing up a 9 or a 10, because I know he's had games with better stat lines. Adelaide round 2, I think he had the same disposals and 2 or 3 goals. But this game, he was the genuine difference. Because, without Merrett, we don't win. Clearly. You can, easily say that. He really is the reason we won this game. He's going to get the 3 Brownlow votes, the 10 coaches votes. And look, let's do it. Let's give him a 10. I think we haven't done a 10 this year, I don't think. But that was just your typical 3-vote game. There is no doubt that he was the best on field. I don't know why the Roos didn't put a heavy tag on him, because he was absolutely destroying them. Early, he was on. Late, he was on. All game, he was fantastic. Even in the third, he was the one keeping it from being an absolute bloodbath. Yeah, I mean, there really isn't more to say. That was pretty much the perfect captain's performance. He really stood up when we needed him. As I say pretty much every week, we're just lucky to have him on our team. And yeah, I guess for those wondering why he gets a 10 here but doesn't for some other games, I think in this game he was just the main difference. He was the guy that really won it for us. And when you're that good, that inspirational even, because I feel like in this game he was genuinely inspirational, you get maximum points. There are no players on the field on the night that I thought could have matched his performance at all. That just felt like someone playing a level above everybody else, and that is wild to say on a footy field. So yeah, he gets a 10. Ben Hobbs, the Hobgoblin. Weird old game from Ben. A tale of two halves. He was immense early. He was one of our best at halftime. And that is a good sign. I mean, we probably judge these younger players a bit too quickly at times, myself included. But he really was bossing it a bit early, which is good. He needed that with Shield and Caldwell coming into the team and Tsatas too. He was probably a player that was maybe at risk of being on the outer, even though his role isn't really in the midfield as much. Then, at the break, we barely saw him after half-time, just the 2 touches in the second half. He did come off with a bit of a knock. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I don't think it was too bad, but he did spend a bit of time on the bench late. But that, yeah, I mean, he wasn't off heaps. He still played the usual minutes that he tends to. From memory, he dropped off late against the Eagles as well, so maybe this is something that we need to keep an eye on. His fast starts dropping. But yeah, I think for 12 disposals, it doesn't really tell the full story at all. I think Hobbs passes the eye test pretty clearly, and I'm going to give him a 6. I thought he was really strong in that first half, and was probably one of our 5 or 10 players who were quiet later on. He wasn't alone in that. I reckon, as is always the case, I would probably be harsher if we did lose the game, but the rose-tinted glasses do make things look a lot better after a dub. Isaac Kako. Interesting game again. I noticed the pressure in the forward half of the field was not as strong from our team as a whole. It was stronger for the Roos, I thought. I thought they were doing better, or making it harder for us to exit. And part of that was also just the nature of the game. Kako is usually a great pressure player for us up forward, but the ball just didn't spend heaps of time inside the forward 50, which could explain the lower pressure rating. Not even just for Kako, but across the board for many of our forward players. What he was doing was, more than usual getting involved in scoring. He had the 6 score involvements, which doesn't sound like much, but he averages a fair bit less usually, and this was a low-scoring game as well, so he was actually a big reason for the scores that we were getting. He would have had more if he just lowered the eyes and found Merrett going inside 50. And look, I think we should probably talk about that a bit, because that's one of the main talking points from the game, when Kako was running through the middle of the ground and had a chance to find Merrett and didn't. He went for goal. Do I think he was being selfish? Probably. I think yes. But the amount of times that happens in a game, not that exact scenario, but a player going for goal when he should have passed, it's common. Everyone does it. It's Merrett probably would have done it at times as well, or maybe not Merrett, because he often does the opposite, where he's too scared to go for goal. But if it really is a non-issue in the grand scheme of things. If anything, I love the play because he had the confidence to split those two players with his leg speed and take a bounce. He was selfish, but that is almost what you want in a small forward at times. And the thing is, if this was a common occurrence, if he was doing this throughout his whole short career so far, I would be worried. But this is that's rare for Kako. He usually finds a teammate. He usually passes it off. I don't mind it. I think he was using his leg speed. He was looking quicker than he has all year. Kicked a nice goal for us in an important time. I think he gets a 6. I really don't care about that one moment in the game. Yes, it was bad, but that's a good learning experience. So if he's having those moments and still getting a pass, that's fine. By the way, Kako's gotten a 6 every week. just thought I'd throw that out there. His partner in crime, Jade Gresham, part of the injured trio, Jade Gresham. He went off in the last quarter with an abductor injury. So what you see on screen is pretty much from 3 quarters. The annoying thing is he was actually playing well. I thought he'd responded really well after a few poor games. Because, he was in line to be dropped if he had another poor game. But yeah, he was making mistakes like many were. But what I loved was that rise in pressure and intensity. Because I had plenty to say about him in the last 2 weeks. Because, he wasn't doing much with the ball. His pressure was well below par. I thought he was in line to be dropped, and if he didn't get injured, he probably would have kept his spot in the team through this match that he just played, because he was probably, I'd say, the best of our small forwards just in terms of that pure pressure and intensity. He was better than Kako, better than Menzie. He had the most pressure acts of the smalls, 6 tackles too. I don't know if we had any last week either, tackles, so yeah, to see him rise that much, I guess it's just disappointing because then he goes down with injury after playing a decent game. I'm going to give him the 6 because, yeah, he was a bit wayward in front of goal when he needed him to be scoring, but much better signs. Definitely better than he was previously and more in line with that early season form that we saw from Gresham. So, yeah, it's a good 6. I'm happy with that 6. For anyone wondering, Hawthorn are absolutely smashing Richmond right now. William Setterfield. So, Will Setterfield. The GOAT. I don't know. No, that was actually much better though. I thought he was not at his best last week. But he was probably one of the players that really needed to perform with Caldwell in line to come back. But yeah, he really returned to that sturdy and reliable midfielder. The thing is, I think with Setterfield in your team playing at his best, you are a better team. And that is not at all unreasonable to say. He was frustrating LDU. He seemed to wrap him up a few times. I don't think there was a negating role or anything. I think he held him in a few tackles, which definitely helped. He had the 9 tackles for the night, by the way, which is amazing. Led the ground for pressure acts, which is typical of Setterfield at his best. That contest work is just really needed, and probably even more needed in a game like this where the Roos were getting the upper hand. Mostly through their ruckman, but I think on ground level, Setterfield was one of the players really helping us I guess even out a bit. I thought he was less involved in open play and maybe let himself down a bit in the third with some defensive efforts. Not the best he's been all year, but I mean that's only because at his best he's been awesome. So yeah, he gets a 7, but it's a good 7, and it's good to see him playing good footy when he needs to. He's going to keep his spot in the team. You'd think. I hope he does at least. I think if you had to drop one of Tsatas or Setterfield, and this is where it gets tricky because Setterfield probably won't be with our team in 5 years. Tsatas probably will be. Yeah, I mean, you still drop Tsatas though. I think Setterfield is playing too good to be dropped. Jordan Ridley, another injured player. Annoying one, this one too, because he was one of our best up until his injury. He only played a little over a quarter of footy, but he had the 9 touches, the 3 intercepts, 100% efficiency. He was on track for around 400 or more meters gained, you would think. If he kept playing, he probably would have been in our, probably close to votes. He was really owning the game quite a lot back there. But yeah, because of the injury, we probably have to just keep his score at a 7 because he barely played. He was really playing a good game before that injury. I don't think he was the reason for the drop-off in form from the team. But yeah, I mean, annoying injury. We'll see how we go without him because he's a very, very important player to our structure. Jordan Ridley is. Sir Archibald Perkins, Mr. Archie Perkins, he was fantastic. He really got the ball rolling for us with that first goal, and you could tell that he was going to be on as well. And it's a tough kick. All 3 of his goals pretty much they're not easy. He really is a player who takes his chances. That's something we don't talk about much. Is his goal scoring ability. We talk about it, but also just his finishing because he doesn't always have easy opportunities. He just takes them. So, sometimes, he might be a player who, for someone like, who's a good example? I don't know, someone else. Someone might, in his the opportunities that he gets, they might get 0 goals too, but Archie Perkins will just nail 2 goals, 0 for the day. And it really helps when you have a player in your forward 50 that's reliable in front of goals like Perkins is. So when we were, kicking straight early on, Perkins was a big reason for that. He had the 3 goals straight at halftime, I think. I also liked the way he was progressing the footy forward. He was driving it forward with those legs, and he's such a powerful player, when he has confidence behind him. Yeah, I think he was one of the better players. I gave him votes. He's getting votes from you guys too. Archie Perkins gets an 8. That was, honestly, probably the best game he's played for us since round 1 last year. And also, those 3 goals now have him tied with Peter Wright and Nate Caddy as the leading scorer for the team this year. So, 8 goals from 7 games. I mean, we don't have many scoring options, I guess. Or not many scoring options, but no one's really scoring heaps. But it's good that Perkins is leading the way with a few other guys. Todd Goldstein. Yeah, I'm going to cut him some slack. Realistically, he had a bit of a mare. I think we all know that. He was comprehensively beaten by Tristan Cherry, the player he helped develop. That's the cruel irony in that. Nice little narrative for Cherry. We got to remember, Goldstein isn't supposed to be playing, let alone playing off a 6-day break after a tough game in the rain. The sad thing is we just don't have any other options right now. He kind of had to play. But yeah, he got bullied, he got monstered, he looked close to death. It was a really hard watch. It was like a car crash. You can't take your eyes off it. I don't blame him. I blame the situation with our rucks and the injuries. I'm going to give him a 4, but realistically, if we're judging it purely off performance alone, it would probably be a lot lower because Cherry was absolutely insane. He was the thing keeping North Melbourne in that game. But yeah, we got to cut him some slack because without him, we probably would have been even more screwed. So yeah. 2 meter Peter, 7-seater. There was a great I'm not on TikTok, but it was on Instagram. What is it? Is it Chubby Sports? They were going through different names for 2 meter Peter in different languages, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I'll try and implement that more, but I don't speak anything other than English, and I barely speak English. Peter Wright, yeah, I mean, I thought he was one of 2 players that won the game for us, and looking back on it, I feel like I probably should have given him votes. I gave him the role player, but I didn't give him main votes. But he really was one of our better players. He deserved actual votes the way he played. I thought it was fantastic. He was tough. He was hard at it. He was marking. He was missing his chances, gettable chances too, which is rare. But he was giving us so much when we couldn't move the footy with pace. And when the game slowed down, he quickly became one of the more dangerous players just through that presence down the line. He had that game-saving tackle on Jack Darling. He set up Langford for his first. 2 behinds, but 6 score involvements. So yeah, I'm going to give 2 meter Peter an 8, which based off those stats looks interesting. But really, he was one of the main differences in this game between the 2 teams. I thought he was fantastic. Archie Roberts. Yeah, I mean, just Archie Roberts. His rising star odds are getting better and better by the day. He's now the equal 7th, by the way, a favourite to win the award, according to Sportsbet, so that is cool. And the fact he's getting that recognition, like we know there are, people like him, but honestly, he's probably underrated. This bloke has made me forget about Massimo a little bit. And I've seen plenty comparing the 2. I don't think we should because they're so different in their development. But I reckon without Roberts, we would still be depressed about that trade. I remember last year when Massimo was tearing up, we were talking about it so much. But since Roberts has come into the team and started to play as well as he is, he's probably costing psychologists millions of dollars from Essendon fans alone because we've forgotten about that. We're not as upset anymore. But yeah, Roberts was our leading disposal getter after Merrett. He had a solid 8 intercepts, the equal most for the team. He was genuinely one of our best players. It's actually between him and Sam Durham for the last vote with you guys. I'll count them up in a couple of days. But yeah, he was our 4th or 5th best, or even for you guys, the 3rd or 4th best. So yeah, an 8 seems fair. He just keeps on keeping on. Awesome stuff for young Archie Roberts. Sam Durham. He also gets an 8. I loved his attack on the footy, especially late in the game. And he was the one I really wanted to give another vote to, by the way, in my votes. I liked Redman just that tiny bit more in the end, but Durham was fantastic in the middle. He was bustling his way through. He was getting those hard ball gets. He was that big body in the contest that matched up with some of their bigger bodies, which we needed. Again, he's just playing that pure mid-roll, and even when resting, he's still featuring at stoppages quite a lot. That originally wasn't going to be the plan leading into the season. Injuries kind of forced him to spend longer in the midfield, which isn't a bad thing because he's playing so well. He's a great midfielder. But when Caldwell and others return, we'll probably see him in the forward line a lot more, which is great because he is a really underrated marking target. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we structure up with the injuries coming back. But yeah, Sam Durham gets an 8. He was, again, one of our best. Harry Jones, I mean, nothing really, the rating doesn't matter. I thought he was in and out of the game before the injury and doing some okay things here and there, but I barely remember the game before it. All I can really think about with Jones was that ankle and how bad it looked. It was a gross injury. The good news is, by the way, there doesn't seem to be much structural damage to the ankle itself, so he might only be out for the next month or two. We'll see, though, that there's lots of injury updates will be coming out in the next few days. But yeah, Jones gets a 5. That is more just my brain not processing anything other than the injury. Let me know if I missed anything. He could have, gotten a 1. He could have gotten a 10. I would not know at all. Jaxon Prior, good response, because I thought he was really poor on Anzac Day, but he came back here and he was solid again down in D50. The whole back 6 was really solid. No one gets a fail there. And Prior was not only solid, but he had some really good moments exiting and rebounding as well, because he's a really reliable kick on his left. He's a nice punchy left boot on him. Used it really well at times. I think he went by 100% by foot. It was that defensive assurance, though, that I really liked. These types of performances are the ones that I really expected from him, where he kind of goes unnoticed through his defensive actions. That's the kind of role player you like to have in D50, the ones you don't even have to think about much. Oh, actually, I don't know why I don't have it in my notes, but that Larky brain fade, that is, yeah, I'd forgotten about that until now. I don't know how that even came into my mind. Yeah, that was silly. Is that enough to bring a... Nah, I'm still going to give him a 6. I feel like there is a difference between aggression and stupidity, and that one definitely didn't verge. It crossed into stupidity, so I wasn't happy with that at all, but I still think he gets the 6 for the rest of the game, because aside from that, I think he was just fine, and he was unnoticed in the best possible way. Mason Redman. You know what, actually? No, I'll talk about Redman, then I'll have my drink break. Mason Redman, and I'm excited about this drink break, by the way, because I put in effort for this one. Yeah, Red Dog, I thought he was really good. He was probably our best defender, at least in my eyes. He was our best defender. And really, what makes his game so impressive is the fact that it was really needed. Because when Ridley went down, we needed that medium-sized player to fill his hole. And I thought some of Redman's work in packs, throwing his body at a contest, was fantastic. It really helped us bring the ball to ground at important moments, because they had some really strong pack markers, the Roos, but they weren't getting heaps of looks in the air. And Redman's rebounding was really effective as well. No one exited more than Redman on the night. I thought he really stood up for us when it mattered and when we needed him to. And after complaints and criticisms, not just from you guys, but from me as well, about his leadership, it was important to see that from him, because that was a game, that was a leader's game. So yeah, Redman gets an 8. I think he was pretty clearly one of the best players on the field for us. And now, I had to go searching, but I did find Portello. I actually got a bottle of Portello itself, and also a Bilson's, what is it? A Bilson's Portello vodka. So I'm going to ASMR. No, that was good. That was good. And I'm excited about this, because I don't know what to expect. What is Portello? What does it say? It's a drink. Alright, let's just try it. Interesting. It's like, grapey, I guess, right? Oh, look, for an alcoholic beverage, which is what I'm drinking, apologies to any children or parents watching, that's good. I like it. And the good news is I've got 3 more of them in the fridge as well. So thank you for the Portello suggestion from a few of you. I'm glad I tried it. Leave more drink suggestions down in the comments, because these videos, by the way, have turned into me just finding out about new drinks, not even just talking about players. So that's the fun about them. And I really had to go searching for that one. I was scrambling today to find it, because the Dan Murphys near my house didn't have it, so I had to go on an adventure. But yeah, Portello. On to Xavier Duursma. Funny old night from Xavier Duursma, because he was doing things that I've never seen Xavier Duursma do before, and I don't think I'll ever see him do again. That play on off the mark where who tackled it? Was it Simpkin? It might have been Simpkin, where he got tackled by Simpkin. That was the most un-Duursma thing I have ever seen. He is usually so reliable in moments like that. He's never someone who tries to do too much, but I don't know. I feel like for parts of the night, he was just not at his best despite doing all the right things, if you get me. And I don't know if that makes sense, but, I'm not complaining, but I'm giving him a 7. I thought he was, he did so much right for us, and his efforts down back in particular were incredible. But it was a really strange night because it felt like he was doing so much right, but I was still very frustrated by him, which, if anything, it speaks to the standards we have for him because, he is such a great player. He's still good. He has been all year. I said last year if he plays out the season and avoids injury, he's probably a top 5 contender in the Crichton. He has 8 stats tonight, if you get me, but there were some really odd things and odd moments from the night which made me probably confused more than anything. So Duursma gets a 7. Interesting 7. We'll give him a wacky 7. He was a goofy goober on Thursday night, Xavier Duursma. We'll see how it goes against the Swans and their wingmen, because they've got some really powerful runners on the team, and I think he's going to be a very important player in that game. Jye Menzie, I'm a little bit torn with him, because for most of the game, I thought he was a floater. He was obviously the sub. He came on in the second quarter with Ridley. And look, we have to cut slack when they're a sub because it is just a harder role to play. He was not getting his hands on the pill. He was not really doing any damage. Even when he did, he was kind of doing odd things with it. I think back on that, I think he's had one score involvement, and it was a snap to Nate Caddy where if he was composed, he could have found Caddy in a better position, but he just snapped over his shoulder and put Caddy in a harder spot to score from, and we ended up missing. Even when he did things right, that's an effective disposal and a score involvement, but it was not a great one. And look, I really liked some of his efforts late in the game. That fourth quarter in particular, it was actually James Lowry or Charlie Dons, or both, were talking about it on Twitter or X, and there was a nice little compilation of the good things that Menzie was doing throughout the game or throughout the quarter. But yeah, even then, I think he was just doing the base pressure that we require from a player for one quarter. That's what Menzie should be doing. And then the rest of the game, you weren't really noticing or thinking about him too much, which you probably should be for a player in the forward half of the field. Yeah, I liked some of his efforts late. I do think he gives us, he helped us with the win with some of those efforts, and he does give us a bit at his best. Look, I call him Lionel for a reason. I'm not taking the piss. I know someone was a bit annoyed that I kept going with that, but I really think he's actually a decent player. And people forget he's young as well. He's a decent young player. He's looked good this year. I really liked his first 3 games. But yeah, I think the sub role just isn't for him maybe. And I think he probably didn't even deserve to be the sub. I think he probably should have started, and it would have been better if... Well, I guess Gresham was fine. But yeah, I think I'd like a full game from Menzie in the AFL. Another sub performance, and yeah, I won't be too happy because he's definitely someone who's better from the start of a game. Because he's a hard worker. He's a good runner, hard worker, works both ways, and that pressure is really valuable in matches. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 4. I don't think he was near his best, but, that's probably just from the standards that I have from him. Richmond just kicked a goal. Well done. They're all getting smashed. Nate Caddy. Maybe a cheeky Rising Star watch, by the way. I actually haven't watched a lot of AFL this week, so that might be wrong. I've mostly been catching up on the VFL and Talent League. I've got the Hawks-Tigers game on in the background, as you can probably tell. But aside from that, I haven't even... I barely watched the Pies-Cats game last night, and that is unlike me to be watching a game like that, or to not be watching a game like that. But yeah, Caddy, a potential rising star for the weekend, possibly. He was, again, really involved. These last 2 games, by the way, he has been our main scoring option. Even if he hasn't kicked goals, 5 shots on Anzac Day, 5 shots against the Roos. And look, he isn't the best shot at goal right now. That is something he needs to work on a bit. He does waste plenty of chances. But the fact he is getting those chances as a key target this young is great. And also, his work around the ground is phenomenal. His positioning up the field, it shows why he can be such a dangerous player in the future. Some will probably look at his stats and compare them to other young forwards who kick, similar amounts of goals, but they don't see what he does around the ground, because his work ethic is fantastic. And it's no surprise that, he was being tested in the midfield a bit this preseason as well, because he could play anywhere. That he's got a bit of Jeremy Cameron about him, the way he's playing right now. He was wasteful, he was inefficient at times, but probably still one of our better players on the day just through his work rate alone, and some of the moments inside 50 were pretty great. That first snap was lovely. I'm going to have another sip of the Portello. I'm having 2 drink breaks. That was good. Good suggestions, guys. I need to get more of those. Zach Reid. Another one I wanted to give votes to. He was just awesome. And look, credit has to go to the next bloke I'm going to talk about in a second as well. Because he freed up Reid. But Reid is starting to look like a proper player. This is the guy we took at pick 10 in the draft. He looks every bit the top 10 pick he was meant to be. And some might point to that late mark to Finbar Malley, which he probably should have spoiled. But aside from that, he was pretty much as good as you can be as that key defender. He had the 7 interceptions, 9 spoils, big spoils too, those proper body spoils. So he's looking more confident in his body and throwing himself around. He was just so reliable in the air, didn't lose a one-on-one all night. I think for the second or third week in a row that was the case. But yeah, he's just looking like a player. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes without Ridley, because that is where he struggled last time against the Crows. So that's going to be a big test in the next few weeks. But yeah, he gets an 8 out of 10. I thought Zach Reid was awesome. And his defensive partner, Ben McKay, I'm going to give him a 7. Part of this, by the way, before you get angry in the comments, is because last week I was a bit too harsh on him and probably could have bumped him up a bit. I had a few of you in the comments telling me I was silly, which I was. But if you're praising the efforts of Zach Reid, you have to acknowledge what McKay has done in these last 2 weeks as well. Because, Nick Larkey really did not have much of a say on the game. He's North Melbourne's best player. He's a Coleman medal contender. And McKay shut him down. He wasn't able to get that trademark leap going. He was held off the ball really well by McKay. Last week it was my check. This week it's Larkey. And look, if I'm being real, I'm probably, I would give him a 6 because I thought there were a few contests where the ball floated out the back over his head. But you can't seriously judge his game off disposals or anything. People are saying he had a bad game, just don't see what he's doing. We kept the team to 62 points. Their prime key forward only really got the 1 goal on him. Remember, the other goal was the Prior brain fade where he pushed him in the center the goal square. So yeah, I think his role will probably have to change with Ridley out, but I've really liked our defensive structure with Reid and Ridley getting more freedom and McKay being that lockdown defender on the most dangerous big marking targets. I don't think it works on smaller guys like Waterman, but he is a perfect defender for someone like Nick Larkey. He was good. I thought he held Larkey down really well, and Larkey is not a nobody. He's a very good player. And finally, for the players, Nic Martin, he was one of our best early in the game. That first quarter, he was so damaging. He was finding so much space in the middle of the ground, doing so much for us going forward. And then when the ball movement slowed down, so did Martin. But I mean, he was still a factor. It's not like he went missing. He was still involved. I think a 7's fair. It could have been higher. Could have been an 8 or 9 the way it was looking early. But I think a 7 is fair for a player who, just played well. And our coach, Brad Scott, I am going to give him a 6. I thought the first quarter was huge. The rest of the game was ugly. In a funny way, maybe if the injuries didn't mount, he would have had a lower score, even if we won by a bit more. Because I thought we did really poorly to get the game, for North to get the game back on our terms after halftime, or their terms. The third quarter was just not good enough at all. But I thought the way we held on and defended was impressive given the limited rotations that we had late in the game. There were some players just absolutely spent, not even Goldstein, but others as well. I thought we really locked them down and defended the ground really well in the end, considering we had our backs against the wall. So I'm going to give Scott a 6. I think the way we started and ended the game against adversity cancels out that poor third quarter. But yeah, plenty more to be done. Next week is going to be interesting with the team's changes that we have. So the spotlight's going to be on Scott and his crew. But yeah, that is that. That is the player ratings done. Cheers for watching, guys. Make sure you tune in next week for another one of these videos. Give me more drink ideas. Could be alcoholic, doesn't have to be. Whatever one I like in the comments the most, I will go and grab during the week to have on, I guess, Sunday or Monday. But yeah, cheers for watching. Like, subscribe, and as always, go Bombers.